Good Will Say Town Council meeting.
Interestingly, they actually did try to attempt to deny one petition, which had actually been filed by one of the residents who's also a lawyer, claiming that it hadn't been filed timely. And the State Water Board rocket scientists managed to figure out that there were actually 30 days in February when there were 28. So I believe they've then reached out to that person and called them and personally apologized for doing that. So the petition basically says that the improper actions that were taken by the board were in contravention of the California Environmental Quality Act 15378 and 15162. And that the fact that they were even looking at a petition on February 10th, given what's in the documents, was premature because there is a need for a wastewater treatment plant for the entire project, which is what's described in the 2007 supplemental EIR. And that the Water Board isn't allowed to just pick and mix parts of the 1994 entitlement that were replaced by the 2007 wastewater entitlement, because that's piecemealing. That when you start to subdivide a project into these bits to minimize the environmental impact of other areas when they need to be looked at as a whole, that is actually illegal under the Section 15378. It also makes the point that the staff of the Water Board incorrectly interpreted and described the project to the board members, which led them to deliver an approval when they should have actually taken a no action decision. It says that the responsibility of the Water Board in this project is wastewater. It's a key environmental consideration of the entire project. And it has a significant and frankly, as yet undocumented impact on the local groundwater supply, because none of the documents for the wastewater treatment plant have been produced that describe that. The State Water Board needs to be concerned about the availability of sufficient groundwater to support the project, and also the fact that the wastewater treatment plant will also need its own water supply to be able to process the wastewater, and that's unquantified at this stage. All we know is what each house will need. The absence of a wastewater entitlement is something that needs to be considered, because it allows permits to be, you don't have a basis under which you can issue the septic permits that everybody was running around talking about. And the fact that there's no wastewater treatment plant, and currently the unrecorded map where that sits expires in October 2022, in a few weeks' time. So the grievances, how they were damaged by the decision. They made the point that everybody around here relies on groundwater and private wells for potable water. The unapproved on-site septic systems will result in high levels of nitrates and total dissolved solids and potentially impair the groundwater that everybody relies on. The project is going to rely on an already depleted local groundwater basin in drought years, and this may result in people's wells drying up. As the groundwater basin depletes, then the levels of the arsenic that's naturally present in this area actually increases, and we know that from just testing of private wells around the area. And granting the permit prematurely, which is what happened here, really risked permanent damage to the ephemeral streams and the unspoiled hillsides that really, if you can't get the approvals for the wastewater treatment plant, you end up with a graded hill and nothing on it. So the grievance petition said, we want you to rescind and cancel the permits that you issued on February 10th. You need to advise the applicant that they need to observe and follow the terms of that 2007 environmental impact report and go and complete the plan for the wastewater treatment plant. You need to tell them that this isn't some great surprise, because everybody's known that that's been needed since 2007, when this thing was first approved 15 years ago, and it's not an unreasonable burden. He has owned this thing for 3 years, and admittedly, they've done nothing about that. And simply turn around to the applicant and say, when you've got all this done, come back to us and we'll consider the right wastewater discharge permit that you need for the location once you've recorded everything and got everything sorted out. In terms of the legal arguments, because you actually have to support these by what's in the record what people have said, what's in the planning documents. The Water Board understands that they're governed by CEQA, and that determines the scope of the decisions they can take. These two EIRs that deal with the project as a whole and then the wastewater treatment plant are part of a single project description and don't operate independently of each other. And that's what CEQA 15378 says. And it basically says that, you know, you have to consider the whole of a project and its potential use that could actually damage the environment. And that damage can include, or change can include, the grading of that. So they've cited these components of CEQA. In terms of piecemealing, we talked about this. There can't be two separate documents that act independently of each other. You know, when you go through a supplemental EIR, you're basically redescribing the impact of one aspect of the environmental, or two or three aspects, whatever it's necessary to describe in those documents. And you know, if you try and work them as two separate documents, you end up in the situation that we are in here, where, you know, we're sitting here going, hang on a minute, you can't do that because it has this potentially massive impact on the local environment that should be mitigated. And when you look at it as a whole, that's what the conclusion that you arrive at. But when you look at these things individually, it's no big deal. So, you know, we said, if you want to construct phase one with septics as you'd originally contemplated, that's great, but go do a supplemental EIR for it so that we can understand what the impact is on the groundwater supply, et cetera, et cetera. Looking at the evidence, I mean, a lot of these points were made in the planning documents, which is critical. They were made in the written comments submitted to the Water Board and in the verbal comments made during the meeting by community members. And unfortunately, the Water Board elected to take the staff's perspective on this project over and above the community's valid points. And that's another point that was made. So that's the status of that petition. I don't know where it goes next. I guess some of the people in the community who filed that grievance petition can write to the myriad of lawyers who are on the copied list at the Water Board and find out what happens next. The applications that we received recently, or notice of recently, from RTG for the project are as follows. On August 11th, they requested a time extension for the unrecorded track map for phase two, which is what Stephanie mentioned. The public hearing is coming up for on the 20th of September, next week. On September 1st, they submitted a minor map amendment, but also some permissions to record a large lot, and I'll explain what the concerns are there. And then they seem to have applied for a second one of those on the 6th of September, and they're both being handled by different planning representatives. So a minor map amendment is actually something that LA County has just introduced in August last month, and it allows the developer to make some minor changes to approved maps without having to go through an extensive and expensive process effectively to amend an exhibit map. A phasing plan, which is what they've asked for, is provided for projects that want to record their maps in phases. There are obviously 12 phases for this project spelled out already in the 1994 documents, and that's part of the tentative maps that were approved in 1994. And the Director of LA County Planning has the sole discretion to determine whether the minor map amendment is the appropriate process. If not, they have to go through the more complex and time-consuming approaches. Just to confirm what a minor map amendment allows, it allows you to make small changes, but it doesn't allow you to do things that might impact the decisions and conclusions that were reached in the CEQA documentation. So there's a very fine line that you walk on this. So I want to just deal with some of the implications of the application. So on August 11th, they applied to extend the phase two tract map, which is not recorded, which expires currently on October 11th. And this was approved in the January 2015 regional planning meeting. The concern I have about that is that I think the county representative commented in the last meeting that they could probably find another 12 months. The reality is, when you look at what was said in 2015, the LA County representative said it was going to take 4 to 5 years, so pretty much that entire 5-year extension period, to get this wastewater treatment plant properly planned out and approved. And I don't see how you could extend the map that's theoretically reaching the end of its final extension for another 12 months and hope to get anywhere close to having the wastewater treatment plant mapped out. So that's a great concern. I don't think that we become 80% more efficient in building wastewater treatment plants since 2015. The other project that they proposed is this large lot recording. And I'm concerned here for 2 reasons. One, there are some very specific aspects of the conditional use permits for this project that don't allow lot recording beyond what's already been done at this stage. But I just don't want to see that phase 2 gets piecemealed or subdivided into smaller lots that don't include the wastewater treatment plant. And LA County then turns around and says, well, there's no wastewater treatment plant on that smaller lot, and therefore, we can go and issue building permits for it. And it does appear, if it's possible to do that, that it circumvents the essence of what's in these conditional use permits. The conditional use permit from 1994 very clearly says, condition 17, that you can record a maximum of 68 lots, which is phases 1, 2, and 3, which they've done, and they did that in 2002. And they can do that until a second means of street access is provided to the satisfaction of the Department of Public Works and Regional Planning. So phase 2 has H Street on it that connects with Sierra Highway. And this was a key concern that the council raised with the Director of Regional Planning a few months ago when we withdrew our support for the project. You need to have that second access street to this project for public safety reasons, if nothing else. And then in the findings of fact and the mitigation measures in the 1994 EIR, it very clearly says building permits will not be issued for any lots in phases 4 through 12 without evidence of adequate sewage treatment capacity. Going back to 2007, the Department of Public Works was very clear. They said that this sewage treatment plan is inadequate and you really have to map this out. And then we fast forward to February of 2010, and under oath, the developer's representative have said basically, haven't done any of that because it's too expensive. So I think that's a quick summary, quick in a fairly inappropriate word to use there. But I think we now need to have a discussion, open the floor to questions, but we need to understand whether we should be questioning this proposed extension that's coming up for this public hearing and writing a letter to voice our concerns about that. And also, I think, opposing the potential that they start recording large lots on phase 2, because that's completely outside the scope of what's in the approved documents. And it does lead to the potential that the phase 2 could be piecemealed to minimize the lack of a wastewater treatment plant, which is a key facility for this project and has been for many years. Back to you, Don.
Oh, sorry, I was muted up there. Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate that detailed report. Council members, what's your feelings on this?
Don, yeah. I have a little off-the-track question here. This letter that we got from Roslyn, it suddenly states that this is not a Russian company, that is run by an American. Do we know what's going on?
Not other than what she mentioned in the letter.
Yeah, Candy, I haven't really covered off the content of that letter because it looked largely like the stuff that we got from the county back in December last year, which really didn't state anything that we didn't already know. We do know, as we've reported earlier, that the county, the developer has hired a PR company, for want of a better expression, to deal with the pushback they're getting from the supervisor's office and the community on this project. Unfortunately, the developer's representative didn't have enough time or wasn't able, due to a conflict, to attend tonight's meeting. And I don't really think that it's my job to explain what their position is or isn't, because what they put in that letter really doesn't tell us anything other than we already know. And I think we would have some differences of opinion on the points that they've made in that letter based on what we know about this over the last, or what we learned about this over the last several months.
Right, but she's stating specifically that this is an American company and is not Russian-based.
Yeah, there's been a lot of statements made about things that aren't in this project and vice versa. So I really think it's incumbent on them to actually show up to one of these meetings and explain their position rather than just write this stuff to us.
Okay. The other concerning thing is, we still, to this day, have not received the answers back. I mean, obviously, we received that letter, which is what they wanted to confess to, but we have not received the answers back or the responses to the questions that the community people that were here the very first meeting asked almost a year now. I think it was in October, if I'm not mistaken, October, November, one of the two, I believe. But we still have not received the response to that, even though Rosalind mentioned that they already had the answers written. They just needed the final approval to release them, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Mary?
Yeah, that is correct. I think this letter is their attempt to respond to what we had asked for in November.
Yeah, I mean,
right, and
just to give you a sense, I mean, telling us that they've got entitlements from these planning documents in 2007 and 1994 is useless. I mean, yeah, we know that. And our issues, we're not disputing whether you've got entitlements. We're disputing how you are trying to develop the project and how the county is approving the projects within the framework of those entitlements. And some of them are quite fundamental.
At this point, I believe... Go ahead. Who's that? Candy, go ahead.
Chris doesn't want us to really get involved in that because it could be a violation.
Could you repeat that?
The letter that you put out, I'm trying to find it here, that you put out that said that we shouldn't respond to this because it could be a violation.
Yeah, I mean, I am, we know that Executive Order 14071 exists, and it does prevent U.S. persons and companies from indirectly doing things on behalf of Russian enterprises. I think that, I've got in the record from people like the Department of Fish and Wildlife emails that Rosalind had written, the lawyer for RTG had written last year saying, I need to talk to Ruben, he's in Moscow. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what it says in writing. And I know that some people in the community, or some people in the community, have talked to Ruben face to face when he's been driving around Moscow. So I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that we're obligated to give them a forum. The forum they have is the same right as anybody else has to walk into this meeting and make comments in the public forum. Whether they then end up, the wrong side of Executive Order 14071 because they're doing a bit of brand management on the part of their customer or their client that isn't allowed, is really on them to figure out.
Okay, thank you.
May I say?
Go ahead, yes.
When I read that letter, I just thought, as you said, Don, they haven't answered us in over a year. And I didn't believe
clear to all of those that are involved in this on the other side that we have retained an attorney. We've lawyered up. We have an expert in our midst. It's not just a bunch of crazy people out in the countryside. So all of this is very important, but it was really made clear to us today in a conversation that we really need to get moving on this. I've started the processes of figuring out how to organize. We'll probably have to create a nonprofit corporation and set up accounts so that we can keep everything in the light of day for everybody who does donate. You know, I want to make sure that everybody understands that this isn't something I chose to do. I didn't. I find no pleasure in it, but I know it's important for our homes here. My husband and I have barely been here 4 years now, and I can understand. Yeah, I know how I feel, so I can only only imagine how people who've been living here for decades feel. So I'm going to, in the chat, I'm going to put an email address that I can be reached at if you're willing to participate in this. And I will, those of you who did respond to me on the Facebook group, but you never sent me your information, please go to the chat here and find that email address, which is also on the Facebook group, by the way, and get in touch with me so I can have everybody's information so that as we get ready to move forward quickly, I won't be hunting and digging for people. I'd like to, open it up for any questions anybody has about this part of this situation and about us moving forward with an attorney.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Marcy? I have one suggestion.
Please.
As I recall, and I'm going back 15 years ago or so, when we were threatened with power towers going through the middle of town, it just so happened that the country fair happened just about that same time. And so it may be ideal. I know it's short notice. I know the country fair is this weekend, but I know there's going to be a lot of people there. A lot of people, they're busy working. They don't even know what's what's going on the mountain up there and over on the other side. But I think as far as the opportunity to capture the majority of the residents is the country fair. It's the one function we have.
Right. Well, Don, Chris had suggested that, and I got in touch with the people who operate that fair, and they won't let us have a table because they consider this political. And though basically what they said to me was, although they all agree with what's going on here and they want, they don't want this project happening, for the small handful of people who might not feel the same way, that they want to avoid that situation. However, I did talk to Tracy Costin of the Agua Dulce Acton Agua Dulce News, and she told me about a fair, I forget what it's called right now, but a fair that goes on at the high school, and she has offered us a table there. And I believe that happens in October. Yeah, it's the Fall Festival on October 22nd. And I jumped in and said, absolutely, we would love to. And as we move forward, past this meeting and setting up the attorney and all of that stuff, I will post information about that on the Facebook group, because obviously we'll need some volunteers to get up to speed on what's going on so they can speak to other residents about it and man that table for us. But it will be at no cost to us. And Tracy, if you're here, thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. So we're working on that, just getting to the people.
Perfect. Okay, Marcy. If you can put your information in the chat room, that way everybody can contact you, and that way, like you say, you won't have to be searching for everybody's contact information when it comes time to send out a news blast or whatever.
Right, doing that right now. So,
Marcy.
Yes.
As I understand it, you guys have got an attorney who said, yeah, this case has got merit.
Yes.
I'm comfortable enough to take this on, and there's some time limits based on state water board decisions and grading limits and map extensions that need to be considered so that you get the filings or whatever there's going to be in time.
Correct. They had, Chris, help me out. I always have trouble pulling this out of my brain as fast as you do. There's something, a permit was reissued or something in July. What is it that happened in July that we have 90 days on that
Yeah,
one?
so that would be the LA County grading permit for 1.9 million cubic yards. The other grading permit is the one that's in the grievance process at the moment with the State Water Board.
Right. And then the whole situation with the map being running out of time, and the extension, which you've already spoken about. So the bottom line is, it was made very clear to us that we have to move quickly. That we have run out of extra time now, and we have to jump in and do this right away. So my plan is, I have family obligations through this weekend, but on Monday, every minute that I'm not doing something that must be done, I'll be dealing with it. So I'm about to put the info in the chat. And again, if anyone else has any more questions, I'm here. So please ask away. And Chris, thank you for knowing everything so quickly.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Marcy. I appreciate you spearheading the action committee. And
sure, it's important.
Hope people join in. I see Cynthia's got her hand up. Cynthia? Yes.
Yes. Marcy,
yes.
Since we are not allowed to have a table at the county fair or the country fair, are we allowed to hand out flyers or any information along the street?
Well, yes. Actually, we can. They offered us to be able to set up by the nursery during the parade only. And, some of us talked about this, and it's, once people are in their places for the parade, nobody's walking past us, and then everyone's heading over to the fair. So we didn't feel it was worth our time. However, I plan on being there. I imagine many of you plan on being there. I will put together something if they'll let me hand out things. I will ask that question. I didn't ask that one directly, but I'll be happy to. And if anyone's on this meeting who knows the answer in advance, please pipe in. I plan on making lots of friends. I haven't been able to since we've been here, and it's been, COVID and all of that. But I will be there talking to whoever will hear me. And I think everybody who has an interest in this should be doing the same thing. And again, back to that Facebook group thing, if you're already on that group and neighbors might not be on that group or know of what's going on, please start talking. My husband just talked to a neighbor of ours yesterday. He was here for something unrelated, and Glenn mentioned it, and right away he jumped all over it, and he offered to donate money and do what he can. So please don't assume that your neighbors know what's going on. Everybody just doesn't know. So please, everybody, start talking.
Great. Thank you much.
Well, we will do our bit to keep getting the word out, Marcy.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
As far as on the town council side, I know we wrote the letter to the board of to Anish, and we're still waiting to hear comment on him. I think until we get those, because that was such a detailed questionnaire. I think it was 9 pages is what it ended up being. I think we're kind of at a holding pattern until we hear back from them. Or what's your thoughts on that? I mean, I don't see where a second letter going forward is going to do anything more than that first letter did. I know we do have the meeting coming up, or the hearing coming up on the 20th, and definitely everybody needs to be who can attend to that meeting needs to be there and give testimony or comment. But as far
Don, I think we should, as a council, write those 2 letters because they are very narrow. What we raised with the county from the last meeting was very broad. These 2 topics have come up since we met in July. They have very
which, as Chris indicated, for the county is not a slow reply. I mean, when you send a letter like that, we've got tons of staff that have to do a lot of investigating. Then when they find their results, they have to typically, and I'm not sure in this case, but typically they run past their findings to county council. Then they write a letter, and the letter has to be vetted. Probably will, go through many iterations. Anish and I talked today about the letter, and I'll be following up on getting a response. So I appreciate your patience, and he absolutely has not ghosted anyone. We're sticking with it, but it was requiring a lot of staff work, and as you know, the amount of projects throughout the county, massive projects. This one is relatively small for a county project, not to you guys, obviously, but there's, hundreds and hundreds of projects going on throughout the county and a lot of demands on county staff. So
If it's so small, how did RTG get their hearing so fast? If they just requested this request for August 11th and all of a sudden they have a hearing, but yet LA County can't respond to us? Just curiosity.
Definitely, if I could answer that.
Yeah.
These map extensions are reasonably straightforward to apply for, and they go through a system called Epic LA, which is an online system. It's a few $100s of cost to extend the map, so it's probably a credit card and an online form to fill. It's not a particularly complex application form that would require significant review by people.
So the county would just automatically take that online and authorize it without?
Well, no, they noticed the town council. We get periodic updates of all the various regional planning applications that have been made. This one came through in the late part of August, I think. And we immediately looked at it and went, okay, fine, now we understand. And we Stephanie, to her credit, has said, look, guys, this thing's coming up. Here's the link. You guys have the right to jump in and comment on it. And we sort of highlighted in the presentation where we think the pinch points are on the extension. So everybody is free to show up and make that point to the county. I mean, my biggest issue, as you know, is I don't see how you can do 5 years worth of work in 12 months.
Is somebody from our town council going to represent Agua Dulce at that hearing?
Everybody who can be there will be there.
I mean, it's open, again, it's open to anyone. You don't have to be a member.
I just haven't seen the copy or link or anything on a Facebook.
I put the link in the chat, and the date and the time in the chat, and the link to regional planning in the chat. So it's all there, but anyone can comment. It doesn't have to be a town council member.
And actually, I've got a link on the agenda also for that.
Okay, awesome.
Is that the one above that says the 346 number? Because it doesn't say, it just says Zoom meeting. It doesn't say what it is.
Well, it's for the 20th. Susan, it's the 20th is when the meeting's going to be. So it's the one, I think it starts at the
Okay, look on the agenda. Look at 17D1.
Okay, I'll look for it. I just, it's easier if you can just cut and paste it. If you can put it in this thing. Marcy put it on her Facebook page. Okay.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So, anything else we need to discuss at this moment? Chris, I want to thank you again for the thoroughness in your report to us and keeping us informed as to what's going on. Thank you.
There'll be season two, episode 2 coming up at the next meeting, I'm sure.
Great work, Chris.
Thank you, Scott.
I think that's why Scott's here. So, anyway, all right. With that being said, now we're on to the President's report. I'd like to give a report that Board of Supervisors hearing on the Gardens of Paradise. For those of you that do not know, Gardens of Paradise conditional use permit was denied as far as their extension and their their last gasp for approval. However, I'm sure it's not done. I think they have to wait 365 days before they can make application again. So don't be surprised if our concerns are raised a year from now. But at this point, it's a victory. I think, and the K-rails are still there. So, Stephanie, do you have any? I mean, are the K-rolls going to stay there for a while, or what have you heard about those?
There's, I haven't heard there's any changes. That was all supported by, county council and staff. So if I get word that there's any movement on that, I'll let you know. But I hope not. I don't expect any changes on the K-rails.
Perfect. By the way, that was a unanimous vote to deny Gardens of Paradise, which was great to hear at the Board of Supervisors hearing. Next up, we do have every 6 months we get the letter from the Land Sea Air Leasing regarding the Agua Dulce Airport agenda requirement. In the past, I have not had anybody raise any questions about the airport, and so if I basically need a motion to write the letter that we've sent in the past, which is at this point we have no need to agendize the airport, but if the need arises, we will alert them. Someone want to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion, Don. It's with.
All right. Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that, Don.
Second. Okay. Any more discussion on that letter? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mary, can you, I think she disappeared from the screen here, but I think Mary knows.
I will do it.
Okay, sounds good. Plans filed, again, the plans filed 9/1/2022, minor map amendment, MMA, for tentative track number 50385, request for approval of phasing exhibit showing unit map boundaries and permission to record large lot map. And we've got their action for response, which we're going to respond with a letter. Here again, the next item is notice of availability. This is a whole different subject now. Palmdale to Burbank project section draft environmental impact report and environmental statement, the EIS, DEIR EIS report for the California High-Speed Rail project. I know everybody out there has limited time, but definitely we could use all the help we could get to go through this draft DIR report and give a response. I know some of you have expertise in certain fields. This particular draft EIS, from what I can tell so far, it's got to be 5,000 pages, if not 10,000 pages. So if everybody carries a little bit, we'll get the thing done. We do have a tentative meeting with those that can take part in this. It's going to be at the Acton Library, September 27th at 4 o'clock. So all those that can attend, we would love to see you there. That's for sure.
Don, I'd like to formally make a motion that we coordinate a response to the DEIR EIS with the Acton Town Council indicating the issues of concern. We've got until November 1st to do that, but if we take action on that now, then we can really move forward quicker.
Okay. All right. Do I hear a second on that motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. So that comment period, yeah, you're right. The comment period ends November 1st, so that'll come up quicker than we know. The incoming correspondence for notice, regional planning plans filed. The MMA minor map amendment for the tentative map, as mentioned, was one of the items. Probably the only major item. It looks like we got a solar ground mount system installation for solar panels on Crisco. And looks like the Women's Club. Oh, Women's Club's in there for a special events permit. So they've got the application in there already for the country fair. And I know that's going full steam ahead. Also, the request for time extension, revised tentative track map 50385. That has to do with the RTG development. We've got a couple water wells that are going to be drilled on Kobe Road. And, the wireless communication permit for the antenna that's above the hardware store. They're back up and we got another water well construction on Wagon Wheel Road. So, public hearing, community meetings. Let me bring up again September 20th at 9 a.m. It's going to be via Zoom. The request for a time extension for the revised tentative track map, the RTG development in Ogwood Alsay. The link is, Mary's put right here where you can just copy it and paste it. Put you right into that meeting there on the 20th. The Palmdale to Burbank project section for the California high-speed rail. She's got the link right here. I think when you go on that link, that's the whole link for the whole project. They actually have a section that's strictly for this portion down here, which really gets it into, I was on it the other day. They have an interactive map that you can go on that actually allows you to see where the rails are going to go or where they're proposing that they go. So it gives you a good idea of just where they plan to put them. Also, there's a search. You can search for parcel number or your address to find out if your property is being affected. If the tracks are going on top of you or underneath you or next to you. You can go on that website. You can also search that out. There will be a public hearing on October 18th from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. And they will be accepting testimony and comment during that particular one. They said they will have a court reporter there that will be taking down everybody's testimony. There'll also be an open house October 6th at 5 p.m. to 7:30, and that will be also via Zoom. So if you go on the high-speed rail website, you can see how to connect into those particular items.
Don,
yes.
and at that meeting that we went to, they had added a in-person open house.
The 8th.
And that's going to be on October 8th from 10 a.m. to noon at the High Desert Middle School.
10 a.m. to noon. That's on a Saturday, right?
Yeah, that's a Saturday, October 8th.
Okay, perfect. And that's in person, so we can go there and give them an earful. Great. Okay, that brings us to open forum, where everybody, if they got a concern, we give them a total, meeting's running a little late here, so I'll give you 2 minutes. If anybody wants to share their heart for 2 minutes, I'll have an open ear.
I think this is when Lori might want to speak.
Yes, please. I would like to speak. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm going to make this as quick as possible. You had brought up the issue on Sierra Highway with the truck, with the diesel fuel. This started about 2016 when I got involved with people with violations that could not obtain financing on their homes because they had violations and were not able to get them removed. So I've been dealing with that for all this time with the county. Their solution was to have the lender, title, and escrow sign a letter of liability for the homeowner, which is illegal. At this point in time, there are over 39,000 notices of violation in LA County on homeowners. The problem I'm seeing and the discrepancy I'm seeing is that people that have latent health and safety issues like a diesel tank and running trucking in and out of a tiny neighborhood are being ignored, and homeowners that are good, upstanding citizens are getting these notices of violation and not giving any recourse to get them removed. The county won't deal with them. They won't talk to them. They won't give them opportunity to reasonably fix these problems. And in discussing this with the Acton Town Council, what we've discovered is there used to be a protocol in which if you didn't have a health and safety issue, the county caught you with something, let's say an unpermitted addition or a barn that wasn't permitted, they would first give you the opportunity to fix that problem. That was their first recourse. No longer do they do that. They slap a notice of violation on these people, and there is no way to get out of it. The county's not working with homeowners that really want to fix these things. So what it's come to is I now have a homeowner in Acton who is facing foreclosure because she can't get these violations removed and she can't get financing on her home. There's an Agua Dulce resident who is facing criminal charges and potential jail time. And this is a woman who has fixed the violations, and they told her they would not take them off, that they had a hold on them. So we're dealing with North LA County, rural LA County has thousands and thousands of these people that literally want to fix things and can't fix them. We also, on the other hand, have what I would call a rogue agency at this point. The nuisance abatement team has now taken to wearing Kevlar vests and wearing guns and coming out in black vans, ripping up in people's driveways, scaring them, and threatening them and telling them they can come on their property anytime they want, giving them violations for chicken coops and hose bibs, and I could go on. It's ridiculous. And we're finding out that actually the county agents are writing the complaints. So this is in your town. We have several people that would be happy to share, but I need to bring it to your attention because we need to make everybody in the rural areas aware. We need to get the county to start working with people, to remove these, to get them fixed and take them off in a reasonable manner and give them an out because they're just not doing it. And B, we need to address this rogue agency that's going out and now really criminally terrorizing our towns. So, and I have lots of stories like that too. So this has, health and safety is one thing. Gardens of Paradise is one thing. We understand that. That makes sense. That's what their job is, and we need them for that. But these other people who have really minor issues that they're happy to fix are literally being terrorized in their homes. We need to make the communities aware of that and find solutions.
Okay.
So.
Oh, thank you. Kind of sound like they're going after the low-hanging fruit instead of the
That's
things
amazing.
that are concerned. But
yeah, that's exactly what one of the people said.
Okay, I see we have Deputy Orlando's hand up here. Deputy, you want to join in on this?
Yeah, I'm not aware of all of them, but I know I've gone on a few inspection warrants with these guys, and it's not the abatement
what had happened in this particular case. Now, granted, it turns out that it's in Acton, not Agua Dulce, but the lady is a widower. Her husband passed away. She has a horse rescue, and they had some unpermitted horse structures, shade structures on the property. And she was turned in, I believe, through a rather vindictive former boyfriend of her daughter. And when code enforcement showed up, I think looking for oil on the property, dumped oil, which there wasn't, they then sort of went around the entire place and wrote tickets out for everything, electrical, this, that, and the other, and then placed the violation on the property. The lady has actually fixed a lot of it. They have a reverse mortgage on the home, which they sorted out when her husband passed away. And because this violation, the county is taking a very untenable position of saying, you must give me an assurance that if I take this violation off, your mortgage company, your mortgage broker, the title company are all going to accept responsibility for this, which is illegal under California Business Code. So there's this catch-22. This poor lady can't borrow the money to fix her home because they won't take the violation off. there is discretion in these agencies to work like that, but the DA in this particular case seems to be quite overzealous. And then we have a separate issue, which I'm less familiar. I actually met the lady and her daughter at this event in Santa Clarita. She is imminently facing foreclosure, which is just horrible. She's a retiree. She's a good member of the community. She wants to fix this. She's fixed a bunch of it. And then separately, we have one in Agua Dulce, I think somewhere on Darling Road, where they're actually taking the homeowner to court. And again, it's, I think, a female who's in a similar position. The Acton Town Council has actually created, within the last month, a task force to wrap their heads around these notices of violation so they can get a better handle on it. And I think we may just want to track what they're doing so that we can understand, much like high-speed rail or some of these other projects that we co-op on, whether there are things happening within our community that we're not familiar with, which our community members have been subjected to these unreasonable violations. And as Laurie said, you've got blatant violations in one hand, which the county seems reluctant to enforce, and on the other hand, you've got relatively minor violations which the homeowner wants to fix, and they just jump all over them.
Yeah. Well, and it seems, what I've witnessed is that, I think someone in New York can complain about someone in Sleepy Valley, and and who knows, who knows who's making the complaint, because they keep them anonymous. And to me, that doesn't seem right. It seems to me like if I'm concerned about something my neighbor's doing, I go talk to my neighbor first, and if he gives me the finger, then I go to the next step. I think that's usually the way it goes. At least that's the most peaceable way to take care of it. But it's Stephanie. If you're still here, are you aware of what's being presented here?
Don, I was just going to say, it looks like Stephanie's gone. Okay. But she has been pretty responsive when she gets an address and has a specific case. So I think if we have any Agua Dulce residents who are in this position, they need to contact us, and we can forward that information over to Stephanie.
Contact her directly.
Yeah.
Because she seems to make the wheels move. And that's,
she does.
Yeah,
she does.
Unfortunately, in the case of the lady in Acton, she had to refer it out to Chuck Bostwick and Donna. And I think that they're probably, focused in other areas than Stephanie is. And therefore are less likely to be able to help that lady out, because that's a path that they've been down. But certainly to the extent that we start to see this happening in Agua Dulce, we should just be aware of it and do what we can to assist.
Okay.
Yeah, I know of a neighbor who was in the midst of selling their property, and it fell apart because of a notice of violation from years and years ago that they had either ignored or not been made aware of. But it's an expense that they ended up having to take to clear those notices, and it wasn't any easy, and it wasn't quickly done, but that's part of the process, and they did get it all cleared. But
it just took a lot of time.
Yeah, and in the meantime, lost the sale. So I get where this is far-reaching in lots of different areas.
Well, I think the county just needs to be made aware of it. And it's something where there's got to be some remedy, especially when someone is willing to make the repairs and has made the repairs and they just can't get it released. So, Lori, we appreciate you coming tonight and letting us know this. We'll dig into it, see what we can do. And definitely, Stephanie English is the contact person as far as getting things to at least get in motion. She can't always get you the exact answer you're looking for, but at least she can get things in motion, and she can contact the person that can help things along. So I would suggest if someone is in Agua Dulce area, they contact her. Or otherwise, her partner, her twin out in the Antelope Valley area is who? Do we know what her name?
Chuck Bostwick.
Okay, Chuck. All right. Okay. So, but you're saying that he doesn't seem to do a whole lot. It sounds like.
Not as I understand. No.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, thank you much.
Thank you. Thank
all
you
right.
so much.
High-speed rail update. Is Pam Walter here? Probably not. She's probably busy putting her nose in the DEIR. But anyway, she will be at that meeting at the library, and she can definitely both Acton and Agua Dulce can use whatever help they can get from whoever's available to attend that meeting. Committee reports. We got the California Highway Patrol Community Advisory Committee. Candy, anything to report?
No meeting.
No meeting. All right. Bylaws revision is inactive. Election Committee. Rosie.
Okay, it might take a little longer, but I think it's very important that I go through this. The Agua Dulce Town Council election nominations period is now open. The applications are available online via Agua Dulce Town Council website, social media, emails to the Agua Dulce Town Council or to myself or Trish. Either way, we can give you the information if you wish. They're also available at this time at the hardware store. They're posted. So we're ahead of the game. But I want to make sure that everybody has to remember to keep the voters registration current. Because if you don't, I will check you up as we go down the line. At this time, we have 4 seats open. For our 2-year incumbents are Mary Johnson, Candy Clemente, which she has already applied, Lou Vince, and Kathy Segura. I would like to know of your intent whether you are going to seek the re-election or not at this time, starting with Mary Johnson.
I will turn in my application to seek re-election.
Thank you very much. Candy, you have already done that. All I need from you is the bio. You have paid, you have done everything perfect. Lou Vince.
Hi, Rosie. I don't think I'll be seeking re-election.
Okay, that's your privilege. Okay, Kathy Segura.
If you want me, I will.
All right.
No, don't tell me. I am nominating chair. That's all. I ask questions. You have to tell us whether you are seeking a re-election or not.
Yes, I will.
Yes.
Okay, it is a yes. Okay, so I'll need your application, okay?
All right.
September 24th. What?
As long as it's under Catherine and not Kathy.
Oh, Catherine. So, sure. Did I say Kathy?
Yes.
I call you Kath sometimes, not even the whole thing. So Catherine. Yeah, you will be Catherine, don't worry. Okay, September 24th, the candidate applications are due and last day to withdraw of our application. I am to send you a notice of candidates if required. September 29th, I'll be verifying your candidacy requirements, whether you're current in your registration or not. October 9th, if the candidates are unopposed or there is less than a full slate of candidates, those candidates shall be elected by acclamation. If there are greater number of candidates than the number open seats, an election will be held. The election will be at the Women's Club at 33201 Agua Dulce Canyon Road, if that happens on November the 8th. October the 25th, I'm going back a little bit, last day for receipt of absentee ballot applications if there is an election happening, okay? Only if the election happens. But those are the dates, and that is the sequence, and we have to seek somebody for Lou's position.
Or Lou's got to stay there until he gets a replacement himself.
That's right. That's
okay,
right.
As long as we all know that.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna get paid though, right?
Well, yeah, but you still have to stay on until we find someone.
That's the thing
Hey,
about
Lou,
Lou.
Lou, we'll give you triple pay.
Oh, excellent, excellent.
And even when you're in another country, you can still join us on Zoom. That's what's so nice about it. All right, fantastic. Thank you, Rosie. We appreciate all the effort you put into it. It's wonderful. And I know the effort you put into the parade. So we're looking forward to this weekend.
Well, right now, I was wondering if I could do this meeting tonight or not, because I'm still behind on the parade thing.
Yeah, but you know that always goes off without a hitch. Nobody knows what happens behind the scenes.
I know. Everything will go just fine. That's what I always say. It'll be perfect.
Yeah, you're the only
You know,
one.
I have to tell you this though. In 2000, what was the last one? 18 and 19, right? We had 19.
19.
Yeah, 19. 18 and 19, we had about 96, what was 68 applications or what do you call them?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, participants, yeah. And then we had 70 something in 2019. This year, if I hit 50, I will be lucky.
Oh, that's good. You might have 70. Who knows?
So, I was glad to see you guys come in.
Yeah, we're excited.
You might make it to 53.
All right. That's my lucky
Oh, yeah, Lou, you missed it. I think you stepped out. We're doing the parade. Scott's going to bring his truck. We're sitting in the back of his pickup. So be there on Saturday.
Yeah, Lou, he is the judge. He's judging the nightly over the horses. So Lou, we'll put the town council at the end so you can be already done with judging, putting all the ribbons up on the horses, everything done. You can jump on the truck.
Perfect. Kind of like the guy in the B-1 bomber that flew over Acton and flew down.
Hey.
All right.
There's no way out, Lou. You have to jump on the pickup.
I will be there, Rosie, with my cowboy hat and spurs.
All right, darling. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose. All right, Rosie.
That makes me happy.
All right. Sounds good. Now we're off to the film committee. Candy Clemente, any report?
There were 29.
29.
Wow.
Parks and Trails?
Nothing to report?
Nothing to report. Water stewardship. We need rain. That's for sure.
Yeah.
This little bit of rain didn't hurt, but we need a whole lot more coming, that's for sure. Ways and Means, Scott Keller.
Nothing to report, Don.
All right, good. Disaster planning, Gary, Chris?
The amateur radio technician class starts tomorrow night at the Acton Agua-Dulce Library. In the event of a disaster, that's one of the few things that's guaranteed to work.
Perfect. All right. Acton Town Council Liaison, Lillian. I don't know if she's here, but we know they're struggling with the same that we are, if not more. Okay, announcements. Household hazardous waste and e-waste collection, first and third Saturday of the month. You can go on our website and read the agenda to find out exactly where it's at, but it's on West City Ranch Road. Disposal is October 8th at Lancaster Landfill. Free tire collection is October 22nd at 9 to 3, and that's at a couple different places. Animal care and control, September Labor of Love Adoption Promotion, dog adoption fee, now $50. Cat adoption fee is $10. Fee includes adoption, microchip, vaccinations, and spay and neuter if needed. That's if needed. Association of Rural Town Councils is this September 28th, 7 o'clock via Zoom. Santa Clara River Watershed Area Steering Committee, October 6th, 2022. Links and details can be found on the agenda. Our next Agua-Dulce Town Council meeting is October 12th via Zoom. And Natural Disasters Expo, Flood, Fire, Earthquake, Storm, Anaheim Convention Center, Wednesday, November 9th, and Thursday, November 10th. It's free admission as long as you're registered. Other than that, I think future agenda items, notice of violation, residential properties. I think we discussed that there. Hopefully, Stephanie, we can get a hold of Stephanie and fill her in on what the concerns are, see if we can't get some response from her. Other than that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn this thing.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second it.
Everybody jumps on that. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, sounds good.